Sean here with BaseMint Comics, and it is time for another Corner Box Classics. I know what you're thinking. You're like, didn't we just get one of these the other day? But here's the thing. The channel is a byproduct of me reading my comic books in this Corner Box Classics way that I'm doing it. And so if I read that week's, I'm not going to stop reading my comics because I put these out on the weekend. If I read that week's books, I'm not going to wait. I'm just going to talk about them. Unless, is there some type of like unspoken rule that I'm like not supposed to? I don't know. Who cares? So, if you're a first time reader, I'm reading all my comics in chronological order from the 60s to the present. And I am currently in 1982. So, let's act as though I had just pedaled up to the shop on May 11th, 1982 to pick up my new... I dropped a whole $1.20. Ridiculous. On these books. So this is what I would have picked up. Avengers number 222, A Gathering of Evil. The plot's by Jim Shooter. The script is by Stephen D. Grant. Pencils are by Gregory LaRocque. Inks by Brett Breeding. Letters by Janice Chang. Colors by Christy Scheel. And this awkward cover is by Gregory LaRocque and Al Migrum. And I say that because it's like, it's a fun, I mean, it's, you know, it's the Avengers versus a new Masters of Evil. But like, not a fan of that pose of Thor where he is just straight up about to like shove his crotch into Whirlwind. And then the other issue that I have is like Scorpion here, like there's no like point to that tail or anything. It's just kind of a club, which I don't know, maybe that was the design of it at the time. But I'm used to the little like hook thing at the end of it. And then like that seems abnormally large. Like he is just carrying around quite the trunk. Other than that, it's all right. But like, yeah, and I mean, he's getting Moonstone thrown at him butt first. It's a weird cover. It's a weird cover. So this issue comes directly after 221, which was the introduction of the new team. And I was thinking about this, like, I, as an X-Men guy, like, one of the things that I loved about the X-Men is that it's found family. That, like, that appealed to me as a kid. And that it wasn't like a subconscious thing with anything to do with my family or anything like that. But I just liked the misfits in this cool school. You know, and the Avengers seemed a little stuffy, like having to have quorums and stuff like that. Now, as an adult, and I'm, you know, and I have meetings at my job where we can't do them if there isn't a quorum. You know, that like the first time I was ever in a meeting at my job, and they were like, "We got to meet quorum." I was like, I feel like an Avenger right now. I didn't. Well, maybe I did. Who knows? So anyways, my question is to Avengers fans, to people who have been like through, like you've seen the room tour, you know how I feel about the X-Men. If you feel that way about the Avengers, do the team switch books where they pick new members and introduce them with the whole press conference thing and all that jazz? Does that give you the feeling that the X-Men not being attacked by evil mutants or jerk humans, and they're just able to play softball? Is it the same feeling? Is it a parallel? Like, do those quiet Avenger issues bring you the same joy that a baseball game via the X-Men brings me? I'm very curious about that. So this one opens up with She-Hulk working on her car that Hawkeye kind of messed up, setting up the She-Hulk and Hawkeye don't enjoy each other's company. While she's working on that, she gets frustrated, smashes up the car. I will admit, I am only used to... I've had a few run-ins with the Savage She-Hulk in my Corner Box Classic thing of reading all my back issues. I think I might have one issue of Savage She-Hulk, but my She-Hulk starts with Burns Sensational, where she is together and a lawyer, and so I am very not used to Savage She-Hulk, so it sort of throws me for a loop. There was like an issue or two of Dazzler where she shows up that I covered on the show, and like it's fine, but I prefer Sensational She-Hulk, Jen Waters version over Savage She-Hulk. So hopefully that sort of gets sorted here. Anyways, then Jan shows up, and Jan does her typical thing where she's like, hey, got you some outfits. And that all seems great. That seems to be Jan's thing, I'm gathering. And then, it basically cuts through like all of the team members showing up. So you've got Stark showing up, and then Cap like wakes up from working on some art at the Brownstone, which I love so much, and he hightails it out of there on his motorcycle. And then Thor's in Chicago, just having dealt with the menagerie in his own title, and back from Asgard and his one-panel fight with Heimdall. I'm still salty about that. And then Hawkeye, he's working at Cross Technological Enterprises, gets back to his pad, doesn't have any food in the fridge, so he's like, I'm gonna go to the mansion. Everybody's showing up. She-Hulk's showing off her new clothes, and basically Jan's kind of giving her like she's annoyed by Hawkeye, but Jan's just like, throw him off of his game. So when Hawkeye shows up, he starts like making fun of She-Hulk's clothes and kind of being a jerk. It's weird. Like, I really like the character of Hawkeye from everything that I've ever read, but like going back to the beginning, like he's kind of a jerk. And like, I'm not 100% sure if I totally dig it. I mean, I love that character. He's one of my favorite Avengers, but I'm just like, man, the first, him being kind of like combative with Cap in the early years and just kind of like cocky. I don't know. I just, we'll see. But hopefully like it's a little bit like Johnny Storm, where like when I was first reading Fantastic Four, I was like, I get it, but like I'm looking forward to Johnny having his moment where he like grows up, and that sort of happens, and then you'll get like a new writer that'll be like, I want Johnny to be an idiot again, and that always bums me out because it's like he's grown, I don't know. Yeah. So then we cut to Egghead, and he's doing Egghead. That's such a like ridiculous. He's like basically comes up with the idea to create a new Masters of Evil, and so that's his plan. Is like he's gonna do this thing. Then we go to prison where Hank is, and this is where it starts to really like kick off and sort of bum me out, because Whirlwind is there, Dave Cannon, and he basically like saddles up in the cafeteria of the prison next to Hank, and is basically like busting Hank's balls about getting put in prison. And he's basically, this is number like 7,932 of why you shouldn't go to prison, is because Whirlwind's about to get out, and he's basically like, yeah, well, you're stuck in here. I'm gonna go visit Jan because she's clearly gonna be lonely, and obviously this would piss off Hank, and so Hank smashes him with a cafeteria tray, and then he gets hauled off, and Whirlwind is still like, well, I'm getting out of here, and he got the best of him there. Like, he's only making Hank's having a rough go. I actually feel really bad about like every wrong turn that Hank has made to wind up in prison. Then Tiger Shark all of a sudden shows up. This is a character that I'm slightly unfamiliar with. Shows up and he's cool, and I would love to know more, but it's not like he was a big X-Men character, and it's not like he's an A-list character that I would know a ton about. So he shows up, and this is basically like putting the gang together. Like, he gets Whirlwind out of prison, and then they go and get, Moonstone, I think? And they put together this new Masters of Evil. And so then we cut back to Avengers Mansion there, and Jan's leaving, and she hops into her limo, and it's Whirlwind in the driver's seat because he used to be her driver. And the rest of the Avengers, like Hawkeye, puts it together that she's clearly in trouble because all of a sudden she's blasting things with her wasp powers, and that's when the rest of the Masters of Evil, the new Masters of Evil, show up, and it's a fight with all of them, and She-Hulk is having a tough time in the outfit that Jan has put her in. She feels like she can't fight in it. She's constricted. And so she winds up stripping down to her underwear, which was sort of like, all right, I guess, okay. That's the thing that they're doing. And so basically, like, that's how she takes them out, as they wind up fighting, and She-Hulk is in her drawers. So there's that. Then once again, this is like, these wrap up like 80s sitcoms where it's like, because then the very like last line is like, she's standing there, they've defeated the bad guys, Egghead's plan of getting together this ridiculous new Masters of Evil has failed. The Avengers have defeated them, thanks very much to Wasp and She-Hulk. And then when they're all wrapped up, like, she's standing there just in her underwear, and she's like, say, Jan, how about we go looking for a new car, since her car's all busted up, and Jan's car's all busted up. And so it's like, then, credits. And then that little, what is it, the dog at the typewriter? Was that the thing? I can't remember. So that was a very weird issue. Like, it's Avengers is so weird right now, because, like, I will admit, I'm not the biggest fan of, I like Shooter keeping continuity and editorial together, but as far as like his run on Avengers, it's not my favorite. So it's weird. It's so weird to be like, I like it. Because it's like nowadays, there's like stuff where I'm like I'm sort of kind of going through this thing with new books where it's like, if I look at it and I'm like, I'm never going to read this again. Like, it goes, and there's books that I want to cut. And I mean, it has a lot more to do with pricing and quality than it does with just quality. And then when it comes to this type of stuff, it's like, this is just kind of a middle of the road, like, okay, like, bad guys show up, they fight, there's really not a great reason behind it, but there doesn't really need to be. And it's still like, if I were to, it's fun, but it's also like, it's not the greatest Avengers, but even this is just like, it's just fun. Like, it's just the team hanging out and doing their thing, and then all of a sudden some bad guys show up, they fight them, and for some odd reason She-Hulk winds up in her underwear punching Moonstone into Whirlwind, and that's the end of it. And it's very much what I would consider big dumb comics, and it's fun, and this is less like infuriating to me, probably because I bought that at $1 bin eons ago. And I'm not spending $4.99 or $5.99 on it. But I don't know what's next in the Avengers. Like, some stuff where I'm reading, like, I'm like, oh, I know that there's a great run coming up. I don't know what happens off the top of my head after Shooter, but I'm kind of hoping that I'm getting towards the end of Shooter's Avengers and into like a really good sweet spot, because I don't recall She-Hulk being on the team for that long, so I can't imagine that this is gonna last for very long. Anyways, the next book that I would have picked up would have been Uncanny X-Men number 160, Chutes and Ladders, released May 11th, 1982, written by Chris Claremont, beautifully drawn by Brent Anderson, with inks by Bob Wiacek, letters by the great Tom Orzechowski, colors by Glennis Ween, and this is a fantastic cover by Brent Anderson and Bob Wiacek. Okay, so the X-Men are... It just dealt with a beautifully drawn, I believe, Bill Sienkiewicz issue, where Storm is lured by Dracula, and so we're sort of post that issue. So this opens up with a very creepy demonic hand watching the X-Men train. And if you are aware of who this character is, the last time that they showed up or were introduced was Kazar 11 and 12, which were both covered in Cornerbox Classics. And I would have picked these up because of this particular character having such huge ties to one of my favorite X-Men characters, Magic. So the X-Men are, like, this is all being monitored, that the X-Men are basically just doing training. They're on the island, like, that used to be Magneto's base, post all of this. And you can see that, like, by the framing of the panels, that they're still being watched by who is Belasco, and Illyana. He's basically calls to Illyana, and so Illyana goes, like, walking towards him. Kitty sees that she is kind of like wandering off on her own, and goes after her and gets pulled into a stepping disc. And at this point, we don't, as a reader, you don't know why that just happened. We're unaware at this point that is Illyana's mutant power. So then, she disappears on the stepping disc, and then it's back to the X-Men kind of like recouping after their workout with their towels, and Wolverine's cracking a six-pack. And they're basically talking about the training session, kind of going over what happened with the whole Dracula of it all. And then the team is basically like getting ready to hit the showers, and Storm does her thing where she doesn't have to do that. But right as this is happening, all of them get pulled into the stepping discs, and then cuts to wherever they're at, and we get hit up with Kitty. And this is one of like the most uncomfortable pages for me in X-Men history, and just shows how creepy. Cards on the table, they're in limbo, and this just shows how creepy this is, because the first person that Kitty encounters here is a very demonic looking Nightcrawler. She goes to hug him, and while she's hugging him, she's super excited to see him. She's super disorientated, doesn't really know what's going on. And then at that exact moment, she kind of like screams and starts snapping on Kurt, because he has just, as you can see in the page there, touched Kitty inappropriately. And she's, how dare you touch me like that? Who do you think you are? What kind of person do you think I am? And he, like, very creepily is just like, well, I thought you were happy to see me. I was merely giving you an opportunity to prove it. Which is so fucking creepy, man. So creepy and so unlike Kurt, and really sets up that this is, like, they're in a weird place. And so that's when Kitty encounters Belasco sitting at his throne. And then it cuts to Storm and Colossus walking around. And Storm winds up finding this little, like, arm bracelet thing. And so she puts it on. And they're trying to figure out, like, where they're at. And quickly, like, Storm is attacked by some, like, tentacles. It's all very creepy. Colossus is then she's like attacked by this, like, it's super tentacly, and Colossus is then kind of vanished away by the stepping disc. Then we cut to Belasco, and he sort of is like, Illyana's there, Kitty is now in stasis, and he pulls up the demon Sim. So this is the first time that we ever see Sim. And there is a skeleton that is laying on the ground, just a skeleton. And this is where it cuts to. There's an editorial note to Kazar 11 and 12 here. And one of the things that I thought was really, really well, just to show how scary Sim is, there's these panels down at the bottom where he leans down to the skeleton, and you can clearly tell by the claws that, oh, this is Wolverine's skeleton, and he like just pulls off one of Wolverine's claws and uses it as a toothpick. And that, to me, like, really sets the scene for just how like Sim could, I think if you were looking at this and you were sort of an outsider and didn't read X-Men or whatever, and you looked at this character and it's just like, it's maybe not an imposing character, but when he just like breaks adamantium, you know, unbreakable adamantium, and uses it as a toothpick, that really sets the tone for a pretty scary demon in Limbo. And so then Belasco just terrifyingly plucks Kitty's skeleton from her body and keeps her kind of in a phased form. And while this is going on, our Nightcrawler is like observing this from up here, and it's just creepy stuff. We then get Storm, who keeps on finding more and more pieces of jewelry that are being left for her. And so then the two Nightcrawlers attack each other. Like, he runs into pervy, creepy Limbo Nightcrawler, and they fight. You know, multiple bamps happen here. They both teleport off, and then the creepy Nightcrawler is back and serving Belasco. And so then Wolverine is walking around and again comes across a very murdered Colossus. Like, his chest is caved in, his body's been like rotting there in the wall, and that's when Wolverine is attacked by Sim, and Sim does pretty good work of like fighting him off. Then Wolverine, right before he gets smashed by Sim, is sort of stepping disked away, and then our Colossus, not the dead Colossus in the wall. This is a very, like, you've got to be paying attention in this issue, and I imagine this would be very trippy. This felt like some very early, like, super trippy, old school, like, time element Doctor Who stuff here. Like, there was stuff where I felt like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back and read this so I understand that, like, this is the Colossus that was pulled in there first, and now this is our Colossus. And so Sim, you know, pulls out the adamantium claw and throws it at Colossus, hits him in the shoulder. They get into a fight, and then all of a sudden Wolverine's back, stabs Sim in the back. It's like a big battle between, it's like super fun. Like, it's a great fight between Colossus, Sim, and Wolverine, and I think that's good. It's a good that they showed the adamantium thing early on, just to kind of give you some weight to Sim as a character. And then, so then those characters like run into this shadowy figure, and that shadowy figure like sort of stepping disc sorcerers them away and into the thing with where Belasco is. And then all of a sudden, the creepy Nightcrawler, it's a fake out. It's our Nightcrawler. He defeated the creepy Nightcrawler, but he's been acting like the creepy Nightcrawler. He attacks Belasco. They go to free Kitty, and everyone's back together. And it is revealed that the woman who's been like helping them out along the way and even giving Storm those artifacts is an older Storm who's been trapped down here in Limbo this entire time. So they're able to like fix Kitty. She's whole again. And basically, like, they wind up just at the very last minute, like, kind of getting stepping disked out of there. But right as that is happening, in this, like, in the blink, in just in like a quick split second, like, Belasco is able to grab Illyana as they're trying to drag her out of Limbo, and she gets separate. Like, Kitty like loses her for like a second, grabs her again, and when she pulls her back, that's when Illyana is older. So she is so, like, understand that, like, I believe that Peter and Illyana are two of the most tragic characters in comic books, and it all starts here. Like, she is a little girl who came to visit her brother. Her brother was approached by Charles Xavier to like leave his family in Russia, leave the family farm, come to the States, try to make the world a better place. He's a poet. Not poet. He's an artist. Like, Peter is an artist. All he wants to do is art. And the beauty of having a character that is an artist, to have their mutant power be like they turn into this unfeeling, unmoving metal colossus, but like underneath all of that is the heart of an artist who like literally just wants to be a farmer and a painter and like put beauty into the world, but his mutant power is that he can kick ass, and it's super tragic. And so then his little sister comes, his older brother's like a cosmonaut who dies in space, and his little sister comes and like he feels responsible for protecting her. And in this split instant, like she loses like 7, 8, probably 9 years of her life where she is literally trapped in hell. Like, it's awful. Beautiful. And it's great comics. It's just awful in the sense of like a truly tragic character. And I feel like both of them in recent decades, not necessarily just years, but I think for some time now, these two characters have been incredibly mistreated. But during the Claremont years, their story is just so good and tragic, and I don't know. Anyways, I very much love the Colossus Ileana thing that happens. And so basically, like, they've now got this older Ileana with them, and they're trying to grapple with like what the hell happened, and like just the beauty of like Kitty has her kind of like they get separated in this like limbo stepping disc thing here, and when she pulls her back, she's older, and just this time is gone. And I get that it might have been a convenient thing to make her more of Kitty's age, so the two of them and New Mutants is on the horizon, but story-wise, it's just super, to me, impactful. I can't even imagine like losing like 8 years of a loved one. It's just wild to me. And so Peter goes, he's like kind of talking to them. They're all sort of talking him through it. And he's just, he's broken. Like, he's basically like, as they're discussing like what happened and trying to wrap their heads around it, he's basically just like, I wish I had never met Charles Xavier. And that just like, oh man, it breaks my heart. So he goes to her room to see her. She's obviously like super excited, to see Peter. She winds up falling asleep. He, like the wonderful brother that he is, like falls asleep in the chair next to her bed, and like, but the hovering thing over her and him is Belasco, and that he has like part of her soul in this little amulet, and clearly things have happened during that time period that we'll get into in a wonderful. We will revisit this again in a very wonderful Magic miniseries that's coming up relatively soon. But that was Uncanny X-Men number 160, and it was great and heartbreaking and a complete 180 from Avengers just having a dust up and throwing people at Whirlwind. That's comics. There's room for both. So that was Corner Box Classics for the week of May 11th, 1982. We laughed. We cried. So there are those issues. I can't think off the top of my head what's next. I'm sure it's Defenders, Fantastic Four, Iron Man. There's probably a Marvel team up in there, and I'm betting a Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man if everything is ordered the way that I think it is. those will be what's next in Cornerbox Classics. And then on Wednesday, we have a pretty good week of new comic books. I think this might be the first week that I cut a couple things. I feel bad. Don't like to do it, but I have to, because, you know, if there's stuff that I'm not enjoying, it's got to go. And like, that's part of the reason for doing this is like, if I'm like, every week I'm coming here on Wednesday and I'm pedaling up to shop and I'm coming back and I'm like, I didn't really enjoy this book and I keep on buying it. You feel free to call me out on it, because that's part of you're holding my feet to the fire here. This is part of the exercise in doing this, is to learn how to let go. So that's it. Yeah, we'll be back on Wednesday with a new comic book, hopefully ride. I don't know. This time period's always like we're in this freeze thaw thing, and trail etiquette, just so you know, is that like if temps are above freezing, but it hasn't quite like dried yet, you don't want to mess up the trails for everybody else that rides them. At least I don't. I'm conscious of that type of thing. If it's a muddy mess, we're not going to be biking through it, but we will find a way up to the shop irregardless. I'm looking forward to this Wednesday, and I am looking forward to reading the next batch of books for Cornerbox Classics. So yeah, let me know. You read either of these? You enjoy them? Do you have as much of a do you get weepy reading the Peter Rasputin and Ilyana Rasputin stories as much as I do? Are you a big fan of Scorpion's Trunk? Let me know in the comments. You know, give the video a like if you so choose. Subscribe if you want to, you know, if you care about my thoughts and about Marvel Comics or whatever. Yeah. All right. Thanks. Bye.